West Coast Davengers.
Good morning and welcome to the West Coast Davengers. I'm going to be talking to Ed Piskor's family today, his sisters, brother, and mother. And we're going to be talking about the Edie Con coming up on August 24th in Pittsburgh, sharing some heartwarming stories and just some general good laughs. And they're going to talk also about their experience at San Diego Comic-Con. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. When you leave a comment down below on this video, just please be respectful. These are real people, and this is a real life situation that they're dealing with and have dealt with. So thank you, and without further ado, Ed Piskor's family. Today, we're going to be talking to Ed Piskor's family, and we're going to be talking about Ed's legacy going forward, the Edie Con coming up in August, and the very recent Eisner that he won that they were in San Diego to accept. So without further ado, hi, everybody.
Hello.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Bob.
I'm Justine. I'm Bree.
And I'm Diane. Or Mom.
I was like,
Mama P.
Mama P to everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to, I mean, I met Justine and Bree, but it's nice to meet you, Bob and Diane. So thanks for doing this. And let's just jump in. How's everybody feeling post San Diego Comic-Con and the Eisner win and all of the good stuff that came along with that?
I'm still trying to recover. My sleep is definitely still a little
oh my
screwed up.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whirlwind of emotions still going on in my head.
Sure. I can only imagine. And for those of you that don't know, Ed won for his work with the Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus, which is, as he said himself, it's the best book he had ever made, and it really is. It's like it's the golden package.
Yes, it's an awesome book, and it was an awesome time out in San Diego for all of us, I think.
It was very pretty. It was like surreal. Like, if you would have told me last year that I would have been walking through San Diego Comic-Con and people were stopping us by name to talk to us, like San Diego Comic-Con, it was insane. Like, I think there was like a half an hour time where we're trying to walk and we just kept getting stopped. Like 6 or 7 people in a row. We were like, what is this? Like,
We weren't even at the first booth before we got stopped.
Yeah. Like we just started down the aisle, Bobby and I, and this dude from a comic book store in Arizona, he stopped us and he says, "Man, I met Ed in 2014, blah, 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 blah. I have a commissioned art piece that him and Jim did for me, hanging in my bedroom." And then, okay, on to the next one.
Well, it's a little bit different than Heroes because the two of you were situated behind the table, so people knew to come to you as opposed to walking around and, having people stop you and be like
at Heroes, you could walk through Heroes, which was very nice because you could get to tables and you could talk to people. But you were literally like body to body.
Skating.
There were people, like you're just body to body, and like,
And some,
I mean, people are like kind of rude, actually. But
May or may not have had to be aggressive towards a man.
tried to use my head as a tripod.
he was so close to my mom.
He had his phone like
He was
right
like literally
here.
centimeters from her head, and we were like, dude, Bree. I've never seen Bree look so scary before in my life.
Got on my tippy toes.
First off, Bree's 5'10" already.
Yeah.
I feel like she got taller.
You pop yourself up.
Straight. I wasn't slouching.
Well, just because it's a convention that people pay, hundreds or thousands of dollars to get into, it does not mean that they have manners there. There is no,
Not at all.
People could only see where they were going and nobody around them.
Yeah.
Like they were the only one there.
I mean, I got
Personal
lost
space
from
is
there.
not a thing at Comic-Cons. It is not.
I
We lucked out at Heroes though.
Yeah, it was
with
like
a lot of space.
perfect.
Yeah.
I got lost though and called Brie. I was like, "Where are you guys?" I turned around, someone handed me a pin, and I turned around, and nobody was around me, and I was just like, "They could have gone anywhere."
Was that the first time any of you were in San Diego? Period.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I was in San Diego as a child.
Okay.
Many years ago.
It's a beautiful city, but yeah, Comic-Con, I've worked there for other conventions that are not as large, but still large. And yeah, the entire city is really nice, but it shuts down for anything else. And it's just whatever is at the convention center.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one of the big run-ins at San Diego Comic-Con. Somebody that, if you're a comic book person or you're a Cartoonist Kayfabe person, you guys had a nice little run-in with Uncle Rob Liefeld.
We did.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy. So we were heading to Artist Alley because we know like that's Eddie's favorite place to be. He likes to see all the like up and comers and all that. And I somehow, I mean, it was easy actually. I was like 7 or 8 people ahead of them, and they stopped off at a side table, and I'm just like, I just answered a text from my husband. He was like, "What if you see Rob Liefeld?" And I was like, "There's no way. Like his movie is premiering. There's no way. Like their panel's done. He's not here." So I literally turned the corner after that text message, and I see him, and I was like, and I turn around, and they're not looking at me yet. So I turn back around, and then I turn around again, and they're finally looking at me, and I was like, and I just, they're like, "What? She's excited. Let's go over there." So I walk closer to the table, and I had no idea he had a line. So like I'm listening to his podcast the other day, and he said that we were called over from line. Yeah. I didn't see his line. He was talking to one person. I was like, people must not know he's here. Like there's no way. So I walk right up and pick up a comic. And then this woman comes up to me. She's like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah. I just was hoping to say hi to Rob because he knew my brother at Piskor and, just wanted to say hi." And she goes, "Please hold." I said, "Okay." So then I turned to them and I'm like,
yeah.
I couldn't read his banner at first.
I was literally like, "Get over here." So then they finally realized why I'm being a maniac. And now they're all standing with me. And the lady goes to my mom, like, "You guys are going to be next."
I had to apologize to the guy that we cut off in line. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm really sorry." I said, "This is only going to take about 5 minutes." He's like, "It's okay." He's like, "I'm still trying to sort through all the stuff that I want to get signed." So it kind of helped him out.
So I'm holding a comic when now Bree's holding a comic. And when he realizes finally, like, it hits him who we are, he starts crying. We're all crying. He snatches the books from us and signs it. He's like, "Let's take a picture." And honestly, I don't even remember what else he said. But then he handed us the comics back, and he was talking to my mom. And I said to the mom, like, "Okay, how do we pay?" And she was like, "He's just giving that to you." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then we go off, and my brother goes, "Hey, like, you just stole comics from Rob Liefeld." I was like, "We didn't. I swear. She said we can have them."
It's like, "You thief."
And honestly, I still at this point had no idea he had a line that they were calling people over. And
right.
The next day we went back and walked through there again, and I seen the line. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
It was
So sorry if anybody is watching this that we cut in line. I'm very sorry. I'm blonde.
That was,
gonna make a joke.
that was on my list of. He was the most important person that I wanted to meet while we were in San Diego, because the video that he posted right after our brother passed away hit such a nerve with me that I wanted to thank him in person one day, and I was so happy that I was able to get to do that.
Yes.
And I was overcome with emotion during that brief encounter.
Right. Same with me. I was so appreciative that I could thank him in person for his kindness and getting the message out to people to be kind and quit being assholes. Excuse my language, but and then he was just such a nice person. And then another caveat to that is I also got to meet and speak to Jaime Hernandez, who was another one of Ed's mentors.
Yeah,
and he actually sent flowers to the funeral home for Ed, and I got to thank him in person for being so kind, and he seemed very appreciative.
Yeah, it was a very powerful conversation. Just how much he was very thankful of us coming up and saying hi and introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
Jaime was super important, to him. And then Rob, I look, what he posted on the video and what he posted in the podcast later that week, I mean, it brought me to, it made me into a puddle of goo multiple times. And, I'm glad that you were able to both, all meet him and talk to him, and also Jaime. And, it's a small community. but there's a lot of people in this community that care, and it's good to know that you ran into those people. Any other notable good stories from San Diego?
So for me, because my background's in pro wrestling, there was a booth for Masked Republic that I went and checked out. One of the owners of Masked Republic, his name's Kevin Kleinrock, and I've been friends with him through social media for a very long time. We've interacted like once in 20 years, but it was nice to actually like go up in person and actually have a formal conversation for in person. We've done a lot of business like behind the scenes, but we've never formally got to have a in-person, face-to-face conversation. So for me, that was the second person on my list that I wanted to hunt down, and I was very happy that I got to do both.
Okay.
In the first day.
Nice. And so let's talk about the Eisners. What was that like? I mean, going in, obviously, this is he's won one, he's nominated, and you know, this book is absolutely amazing, and you know, a lot of people were really pulling for Ed to win this. What was that experience like?
Different
Surreal.
than what I expected.
Surreal. Yeah, it was very. I don't know the word I want to use. Okay, so for his category, it's a tie.
Yeah.
Huh.
I felt like I couldn't even breathe.
When they said, and then they said, and the first winner is Wonder Woman, whatever, and then we're like,
I know. I
oh
literally.
no! She looks at me and she's like, we didn't win.
He's so used.
Or
Did
some,
I don't remember because I don't even remember.
and Gary Groth turned
He
around.
turned and went.
And he went.
I was literally like, I'm gonna throw up. So like,
and I'm there
cool.
like, my heart is in my stomach right now.
Right.
So let's get these people
I know, I'm
done.
like,
and
I have no idea how people do this.
and
like,
then you know
go to these shows.
those people accepted their award, got off stage, and they said, and the second winner is Ed Piskor for Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus, and it's like, accepting the award. Accepting the award is his family, you know, and it's like, oh my god, and we all just like stood up and okay,
All right,
now
where do we go?
how do we traverse through the sea of
Oh my gosh,
tables?
that was
What's
a very
next?
long walk to that.
Right.
The walk
Right.
definitely felt like it took forever, but I wanted to make it over to grab my mom to help her push through the crowds of people to make it up on stage.
I
And
don't even remember.
Kid just kept telling everybody as we were walking, deep breaths, we got this.
Yeah.
Deep breaths, we got
I
this.
remember everything. I just remember after my mom gave the speech, Bobby was like, "Go ahead, say something." I said, "I want to throw up," and that's what
That's not what you said.
I didn't.
That's not what she said.
Oh, that would have been amazing. That would have been amazing.
Might as well just say it.
I didn't say throw up. I said I had to poop.
I wanted to intro my mom. I wanted to give my mom a formal introduction, and so I started off the speech, and I think I found my calling like over the last few months, that like public speaking has like turned into like something that I feel like I've become strong at, and I really just went and spoke from the heart. I had nothing prepared. Sure, the whole week leading up to the trip, I'd been thinking about like, if I had the opportunity to say something, what would I say? And I felt like my brother was completely honored being up there, nominated with the rest of the nominees, and any one of them definitely could have won. But hearing a tie, like it's just bittersweet, that he got to share the moment with somebody else, and we are all very thankful, and we are very honored to have been there to accept it.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to Fanagraphics for inviting us, and Jackie Estrada too.
Yeah, I had a little speech prepared for the moment, and I started out reading it, and then I like lost my place and just finished out with giving everybody their marching orders to make more comics and read more comics. And this one's for you, Ed. And
That's beautiful.
A fun little tidbit. If you see a picture of us, I'm actually wearing the same shoes that my brother was wearing when he won his first Eisner. I borrowed them from his house, and I wanted to wear them on stage. And I picked up the Pirates hat, and it was there. I saved him a seat next to me, and he was there in spirit for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was definitely felt him there.
Mhm.
The whole
Yes,
weekend.
yes. He like that morning. Before I woke up for the morning, I felt him rubbing my shoulder like he used to.
Well, I'm glad that you were all there to accept that award. And I mean, Ed probably hated San Diego Comic-Con. I know he don't go often, and but I'm sure like in this, like he would be laughing like, oh, you guys had to go. You guys had to go. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to experience it at least once in your lifetime, I think, and that yeah, I'm good.
Right. Just once. That's it. Don't bother going back.
Back a million times. I loved it.
My daughter was with us, and I asked her before. I says, if Uncle Eddie wins, are you going to come on stage with us? She's like, nope.
All the pictures that we posted, she took the pictures.
She took the pictures, and I took the videos, and it was awesome because then when I came back down to sit down, she looked at me. She's like, Dad, next year when Uncle Eddie wins an Eisner, I'm going on stage.
Yeah.
She got jealous.
She did.
Regretted it.
Yeah, then we'll have to find somebody else to take the pictures for us.
I'm sure you could find somebody. Was it any other things you wanted to share about San Diego at all? Something that maybe you haven't shared or anything?
I missed Robert Kirkman.
I heard. I saw you post about that. Robert, if you're watching this, we'll connect you.
I got to see the voice actors of all the SpongeBob characters. That was definitely a bucket list. I mean, I just looked. I didn't say anything, but
Was there any names that you recognized? Any names that you? Oh,
I'm sorry.
No. Keep going. Sorry.
The one guy that voices Mr. Krabs, he is actually the. I can't think of his character name in the new Dexter series, but he plays the old man.
The dad? Harry?
No, in the new
In the new
series.
one.
I don't want to spoil it, but the guy with the rifle in the house, with the son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either.
You're talking about the new blood. Okay. I thought you meant this new one.
No.
I'll post his name on the screen.
Yeah,
when I
I'm
do post
blanking on it at the moment, but
Put a comic bubble
they line up.
with his name above her head.
With a light bulb.
Like,
With a light bulb. Burning.
it'll get there. It'll get there.
In the past, have you, as a family, ever gone to any of the cons that Eddie was at, or
So-
individually?
So when Eddie first started in comics, even before then, when we were kids, he and I would go all the time for the Pittsburgh Comic Con in Monroeville. We'd go every year. We'd get a hotel room. We would stay for all 3 days and just literally terrorize the hotel. There's a lot of craziness that would go on. We wouldn't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah.
So
Because on his hard drives, there's literally pictures of him naked running down the hallway.
yeah.
That's a hotel thing. Like, I mean,
It
how many celebrities have we heard? Like DMX, running up and down the hotel naked.
Yeah.
I think he was like trying to use a sheet as like a diaper.
No, we had jock straps on. We were covering up our parts. Sorry, Mom.
I saw his butt, so.
Hey, I birthed you all.
Yeah.
So
Nothing I ain't ever seen before.
Eddie and I, we used to do a lot of Jackass stuff, and with his partner in crime, HB, the three of us, we would just film all kinds of just debauchery, and so that was our early infant stages of Comic-Con. And then whenever Eddie first broke into the business and he was handing out zines and handing submissions out to different publishers and different artists, I would go with him. And then when he started tabling for his first few cons, I would drive him because he didn't have a license at the time. And fun fact, if there's anybody out there, I would love to hear your Ed Piskor driving experiences. Because
Oh no.
Sorry, I taught him. I was the one that taught him.
I always like to drive everywhere we went together because he scared me as a driver.
Yeah.
I always wanted to make sure that he made it to like Columbus and all over Pittsburgh and so I got to experience a lot of Comic-Cons with him.
That's great. Yeah. And I imagine as things progressed in his career, he got more serious about like getting there on time, and like he seemed like the type of person that was like
always
all
very
business.
punctual. Yep, very punctual. Bree ended up later on in Eddie's career got to do a lot more than I. So
yeah, we went to. It was right after my senior project. I finished school. We left for WonderCon in Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time I was ever on a plane. So
wow.
Not only is he making Final Destination references, he is singing Rome by the B-52s to me the entire time. Not even the full song, just Rome. Just that part the entire time. So I put my headphones in, so I start blasting music, and he like humbles me. He's like, "You need to be quiet." Like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm just trying to enjoy my flight, and you're terrifying me.
He's the number one terrorizer.
Got to do it.
Exactly.
Eddie was a ball buster on multiple levels, literally and figuratively.
And another thing is, Eddie, Bobby, and Justine, they're only, what, six years apart between the three of them. And then Bree came along 11 years later.
Yeah.
So
My little big sister.
so Bree was like Eddie's child.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you least suspect you're gonna have another sibling, and then all of a sudden you do.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah, I don't have any younger siblings. I just have an older brother. So I was always the little, brother. But
I was the middle child for the longest time, and then Bree came along, and it was great because it took all the pressure off of me.
I got to practice my WWE moves. I used to put them in a figure four, sharpshooter. What else? We would practice some crazy stuff.
And she would wear her Spider-Man costume.
And he'd hold me upside down so I could pretend to climb on the ceiling.
So I assume Eddie's love of wrestling was infectious in you, Bob, right? Or is it the other way around? Did you start watching wrestling and get him turned on to it?
So literally, from the moment I could remember, our household, we watched wrestling. I mean, it went back to my grandfather used to do security at the studio wrestling. My dad would go there. As a kid, my mom would attend the matches in town, and we just watched it. Even watching old birthday home videos, it's on in the background. Wrestling's always been in our lives in some capacity. And then, we used to go to the local matches here in Pittsburgh together a lot. Every other week we would be in some random building watching wrestling. That became our thing to do together. He and I later on in life, when he was, taking a break from, it was right after hip hop ended and before X-Men started, he used to travel with me to shows because he was working on a wrestling project. Him and Jim were partnering up to do a really cool story. So I brought them along so they can see the behind the scenes look of wrestling, what goes on before the doors open, what a locker room setting looks like, how guys put together a match, and explained, wrestling, the psychology on our car ride. So they both were just taking notebooks down with all the information that I was kind of spilling. They're here somewhere, and I'm very bummed that the project never made it to but 3 pages. And I'm happy that I found those pages, and I could at least hold on to them, that this was something that we were going to start, kind of together. He told me, he was like, Bob, he's like, I'm going to get you in the WWE in some way. Maybe it's going to be through this book.
Yeah. His love for wrestling. I mean, him and Jim. Obviously, the entire gist of Cartoonist Kayfabe is based on, wrestling terminology.
Yeah, I mean that is the main wrestling word is kayfabe, and
and shoot interviews. You guys are on your first shoot interview.
Yeah, my first family shoot interview, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I did. I mean, I grew up a wrestling fan too, and got really. Me and you were going to have some really good wrestling talk when I see you. In
Oh,
a
I'm
couple
sure.
weeks.
Oh
Yeah. In a couple of weeks, you'll at our con. I have a guy that I met through wrestling, a former WWE Tag Team Champion, Henry O'Godwin. He's coming in to sign autographs for us, and I can't wait for everybody to meet him. He's probably the most genuinely nice person like I've ever met in the wrestling world.
Let's. I guess why don't we talk about that a little bit? August 24th is the Edie Con, which you are all putting on in Pittsburgh or outside of Pittsburgh in Munhall, not Munhall,
West Mifflin. Yep.
West Mifflin. So it's a 1 day only con. I will flash all this stuff on the screen for it, and there'll be links below, so everybody will have the information. But that's going on August 24th. So let's talk about that a little bit. What can people expect from the Edie Con in its first year?
It's first year. We're working out all of our kinks, but yeah, we're just want to honor our brother and celebrate the comic book world and the artist world, if that makes sense.
The big
celebrate it.
The big thing that I was like really invested in with this is my brother's love for underground and up and coming artists. So this to me is going to be a platform for them to potentially get seen, get noticed, get some kind of recognition, because they've all worked so hard and they need that stepping stool to get their work out there. So hopefully this is an opportunity for the younger generation of artists to get their work in front of somebody, and maybe somebody notices something that they've done and they pick them up on a project. So I'm really hopeful that's what this turns into, a launch pad for a younger artist.
And also, at the memorial, I gave my little speech and said about how I didn't really know Eddie the cartoonist. I was more like involved with Eddie the brother. Mm-hmm. And when we were on the way to the memorial, when I texted everyone, was like, get this, the Edie P Comic Con. And everyone was like, hell yeah. So I told Jim, and he was like, he always wanted to do that. And I said, you know what? I didn't know that. So now that we got our foot on the ground, if that's even what I want to say, I just wish he would have shared that, because we could have all just made it happen. You know what I mean?
And we could have worked on it with them and got it going. Because
this is just the first year, and this is not going to be the last year. So
I also wanted to start small too, because you want to make sure that we're not, biting off the nose or biting off our nose to spite our face, and sometimes, big venues are a bit intimidating, and this hall is actually kind of special. We've been to a lot of family weddings and stuff there, so it's familiar.
And it's right in our home.
It's
near our hometown.
It's in our backyards, literally.
Around the
it's
corner.
right in our house.
You can walk to it.
We're all gonna park at her house. And,
Okay, there you go.
It's truly the halfway point in between our houses.
Yeah, so I'm just really excited that that this actually this spitball idea turned into a full blown production, and I'm really excited for some of the stuff that we're going to do that's going to be a little different than your typical vendor show. I'm going to put a lot of stake in our vendors, because those are the forgotten heroes at these events. They're the ones that take the time to table and sit there for 2, 4, 6, 8 hours a day, a couple days a weekend, and you're taking a lot of time away from their families and stuff. So I want to make sure that we treat them with the most respect and give them the space that they need to hopefully make it to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big fucking Cartoonist Kayfabe nerd. So I've seen every episode, and I'm one of those people that I log in the things that are said, and they're in here somewhere. And he used to talk about once they got to 100K and then doing a Cartoonist Kayfabe con. And I think this is exactly the type of way for it to start, and the way to kind of do it at the grassroots level, with having young or not even young, just independent cartoonists, people that are not going to be they're not currently published by Marvel or DC. They're trying to get to these levels, and I think he he would appreciate that, as well as, you know, dollar bins and stuff like that. Like just a lot of comic digging for like you know, or whatever's there. So I'm excited.
We're also opening it up to like not just comics, but like there will be some pop culture tables. There's a couple wrestling tables, T-shirt vendors. Like my wife's gonna vend her T-shirt brand. There's gonna be a lot of like different types of art, and that's what the focus is gonna be on, art in general.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
We got stuff planned for the littles that come. There's going to be a coloring contest and a costume contest.
Yep.
So the coloring contest, we're gonna take some of Eddie's drawings uncolored and let the kids color them in. Obviously not Red Room.
I was arguing for that one.
I do think that Josh might have thrown in like the logo.
That's okay.
Yeah, the logo's okay as long as they don't ask what's a red room.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That room,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard of a red room was watching The Blacklist. That was like my favorite show ever.
That was a good show. Who doesn't love James Spader? Come on. So I just announced today I'm going to be hosting a Q&A there at the con with all y'all and Jim and Mossy and Brian Moss. So that'll be fun. I'll have to think of some. I got to think of some fun questions to ask that are going to elicit the belly laughs. You know.
Yeah, we'll have to talk on like a sidebar. I'll feed you some stuff.
Yeah, totally. I you know, it's interesting. I just like, even growing into it like second, third year, because you still have all of or most of Eddie's artwork. I do own a piece right here. And it would be fun at some point, like when maybe the venue gets a little bit bigger as it grows, to have like a nice little display of original stuff for him, so people could see that in person. Because, you know, I'm a huge original art fan, and you know, Ed's famous for not selling a lot of his artwork. I mean, that you know better than anybody else. Like, there are stacks of it still just sitting there, and it's like, I love getting to see it, and especially with his stuff. There's so much ink, and there's the line work, and I used to watch the streams, and it's amazing to see his care for the craft. It was legendary years ago, and it's still legendary. So I think that would be a fun thing to have maybe in years going forward for the Eddie P Con.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Oh, is that is a Misfits?
It's a Misfits colored pencil drawing. It's huge.
Oh my god!
And I'm a huge Misfits fan, and he turned me on to it. And he wanted to throw it away, and I'm like, Are you crazy? I'm gonna hang that on my wall.
Well, that's artist for you, right? They think that like, I mean, I watched.
He was his own worst critic.
Sure. I mean, that's what most people that are artists are. I mean, I watched one of his friends, Peach Momoko. She did like a little live stream where she was going through her old artwork and ripping it up and throwing it out. And her husband, Yo, is explaining like she doesn't think that this is good enough for anybody to see, so she destroys it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh. So I wanted to ask like an early experience. Ed talked often about his uncle bringing him comics and his dad buying him collections. Was when you guys were kids, were they always around? Like, were his comics always around?
Oh yeah.
I shared a room with him. I'm very OCD. He is not. My mom can further compound on the fact that like my corner of the room, and by corner I mean I literally had just a little corner. He had the rest of the room, and it was filled with stuff.
Did you just look at me?
Yeah.
Like,
This is Felix to Eddie's Oscar.
One of my favorite stories, and I was just I did a podcast with a buddy of mine to help promote our con a couple of weeks ago, And I told him a story off air about when we were kids. Like I used to collect baseball cards and wrestling figures. So it was like my thing, right?
Yeah.
So we would go to the flea markets, and my dad would like wake us up like the butt crack of dawn, and we would go to this one flea market by our house. And my dad was such a swindler, like total freaking gangster when it came to comic and toy shopping at the flea markets. So he'd go up to a table and they'd have a long box filled with stuff, and Eddie's leafing through it, and my dad'd be like, "I'll give you $20 for the box." The guy's like, "Okay." So here we are carrying long boxes back to the van, and then,
guess what? He still has them.
Yep, we have every single long box, all 695.
I think that's lowballing.
That's lowballing.
I watched an older interview with him where he said he never threw anything away.
No.
And for better or for worse, like that, some people are like that and some people aren't, but the people who are like that actually collected things that might have value, they're happier years later when that thing's unobtainable. And
Eddie broke into our childhood home while it was dilapidated, and you couldn't even stand on the floors just to take pictures of the drawings on the wall in our bedroom, just to have them.
I mean,
yeah, I let him draw on the walls, and I didn't care. Yeah, he liked to draw. He drew very well, so go for it. Was
and
better than the cracks in the wall.
He would always mention that neither of you ever stopped him from drawing, from comics, from doing the things that he loved. And it's like, I wish every parent was like that. If every parent was like that, we'd have a happier society in general.
We sure would. Yeah, I always like to challenge him, and we would have drawing contests between him and I to see each other's take on whatever character it was at that time. Mm-hmm. And he did actually publish one photo in X-Men Grand Design. The blob.
The blob.
When did his love for hip hop start, and where? Like, was it radio play?
Early on, where we lived at growing up,
our urban neighborhood.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, we were introduced to hip hop as a kid. I can remember getting cassette tapes from some of the neighborhood kids, and Eddie and I would, because again we shared a room, we would listen to some really vulgar stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, 4 or 5 years old, learning some really intense swear words.
Listening to the Fresh soundtrack in kindergarten. Being like,
I probably shouldn't. My parents probably shouldn't have let me buy Straight Outta Compton when I was 10, but somehow I ended up with that cassette tape.
Yeah. He for Christmas he put on his list what cassettes or CDs he wanted,
and that big ass boombox.
And we bought him a boombox and the things on his list, and he would write down a list of comic books, and we would go to his favorite shop, Phantoms of the Attic first.
Yeah,
they would pull whatever they had, and if they didn't have it, then they'd send us the Ides. And we'd go and they'd pull what they had, and if they didn't have it, they sent us up to this little comic book store that nobody knew about inside a bakery up in Allentown section of Pittsburgh. And they surprisingly had them. Yeah, who would think that there's a comic book store in the back of a bakery?
Right, amazing. Yeah, the 80s and 90s were full of stores that made no sense. I miss that time. I really do.
And the same with his art supplies. Okay, go to the big stores like Utrecht and Michael's and whatever. And there used to be a hobby store called Pat Catan's, and they actually were able to get a lot of the stuff that he wanted there. But then there was this converted house in this one section of Pittsburgh across the river from us, and it was like off the beaten path, and how he knew that this place was even there was amazing. And they had all of the nibs for his inking pens.
Yeah.
Because he used the inkwell,
Mm-hmm.
and that was his inking method. It was like micron pens were okay once in a while, but he preferred to use the actual nibs.
I always kind of wondered, especially watching like him draw live on stream and stuff like that. As a kid, he was like a 60-year-old man. Like, where did he get that? Was it from his, like, was it a family thing that like he was just very into the old fashioned stuff and like embracing tools instead of, whatever it is that he could have been doing, but it seemed like he was more into like trying to be kind of creating comics, creating art in the way that the guys in the 60s and 70s were doing.
Basically he wanted to bring back that style.
Yeah, he just wanted to be Robert Crumb.
He did.
He loved Robert Crumb, and
I can't tell how many documentaries he made me watch.
And I'm pretty sure he snuck into the invitational here at their Carnegie library when Robert Crumb was there for the month. I'm pretty sure he snuck in at least once, because he just had to see Robert Crumb in live, and then to finally collaborate with him and Jay Lynch, and I don't know who else on those little underground.
Right, Harvey Piskor. It's it's a perseverance, but it seemed like he was just determined, and determination is kind of all you really need. You know,
Eddie's work ethic is second to none. Like, there's nobody that can touch what he did on a day-to-day basis, and like the amount of time and effort he put into his craft. I mean, it obviously shows in his work. And just my wife said something to me today that I almost like broke down crying, because it's so true. It's like, you look at a comic that you buy at a store, and it's written by, inked by, colored by, and it's like, it takes 10 people to put one issue of this together. But you look at Eddie's, it's Ed Piskor, and that's it. Yeah. It's just it's mind blowing the way that he thought. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, for him to sit down and research, and then write the story, and then pencil it out, ink it out, color it, and hand letter. When he submitted his first Hip Hop Family Tree copy to Fantagraphics, they called him up and said, "What font is this? We can't find it." And he says, "It's hand lettered." And they're like,
"It's just so crazy because his actual writing is horrible."
That's so funny.
Horrible.
His research. I didn't have a copy of WYSIWYG until Phantom of the Attic had a bunch that you gave him. So, I'm reading it, and I'm just like, the amount of research that he did. I imagine it's an autobiographical copy of another life that Ed lived, where he was a hacker. Like, that's what it feels like. You're reading.
We plead the fifth.
But his attention to even fabricated details is amazing.
Eddie was very ahead of time with certain things, and he and I had many conversations, and he we would do some things nowadays you'd get arrested for. We learned how to pick locks and pop locks.
I still have his tools.
Yeah. We had a whole toolkit that we could just pop locks, key locks, or so simple. And then it deep dive into everything else that book covers, and
right.
It gets pretty deep.
And I'm a little bit older than Ed, but we're part of that generation, like the last generation of kids that grew up with misspent youths that did not destroy their lives, like by ending up in jail. Like, we did stupid shit, but it wasn't stupid shit that caused anything crazy. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff that I probably would have been arrested for as a kid.
Yeah, our parents were always like super cool. They had one rule: don't get arrested.
Yeah,
And
That's-
He broke
I
it.
broke it. I'm the only one that broke that rule. And I remember coming home after I did get arrested, and my brother was up drawing, of course, and he made me sit down and like walk him through the entire process, like from start to finish. And it was just like, I can tell that he was collecting that for a future project.
I could just
research.
like, all right, start from the
Yeah,
beginning.
and like he like, because I even had the marks from the handcuffs because they were on like super tight, and like he was like studying them because he wanted to make sure that if he drew them in some capacity that they would be factually correct, because that was his thing. Like the details had to be
He
on
really
point.
was like that because even like throughout my pregnancies and childbirth, he wanted to know every detail. Like
Yeah.
something grossed him out, and he wanted to know everything.
I share a lot of like my my day job experience with him because I work in criminal court system, so like I get to see and hear a lot of like pretty intense stuff, and like that was like one of our weekly things. He'd be like, "Hey man, so tell me what happened in court this week," and like I'm sure like I haven't read everything in Red Room yet. I'm slowly getting into that version of his comics. So I'm only curious to see how much of it came from like some of our conversations.
Yeah, I and then I don't know if you know anybody that worked at a morgue, but he sure as hell kind of studied some gnarly human anatomy for that book.
So we actually together used to do a lot of special effects makeup when we were growing up, and like the things that we would glue to each other's faces. I mean, we would do some pretty wild like looks, and at one of the Pittsburgh Comic Cons, again, goes way before the Steel City Cons. We were attending a seminar with Tom Savini. Tom Savini, a very famous special effects artist. He has a school here in Pittsburgh where he teaches, and we listened to this seminar, and literally like it like changed our lives because Tom Savini talked about how he was a Vietnam War photographer, and he studied dead bodies, and he would go and buy photos from the medical examiner's office and use those for research. So like in any of his films, those came from reference photos that he had taken. So like each makeup look is an authentic person.
Yeah. And Savini working with Romero, it was always a match made in heaven. Pittsburgh has some great filmmaking history, especially with Romero being from there, and
for sure,
and comics history, obviously. But something that I think I can speak for pretty much everybody that was a King Kayfabe or a regular Kayfaber is that both Ed and Jim's attention to detail is the reason why we would religiously watch the show, because like it's just enriching us with more comics knowledge. And I wanted to ask, like, was the channel when they started it, was it like this big point of pride for him to you guys, or did he just be like, oh, me and Jimmy are doing this YouTube thing, it may or may not work?
I think that's pretty much how he started it off to me, and then before you knew it, it was just this big thing.
He's there. We're starting this YouTube channel, so please subscribe so we get subscribers, and
I would just share his stuff,
and then just share it out there, like, hey,
Yeah.
He would always like talk to me about like the interviews that he was getting ready to do, and I think that was the part that he was most excited for, is when he got to do shoot interviews, and like that was something that we talked about. Like when he would go to a convention, he'd be, "Yo, I'm going to do a shoot interview with this guy, or I'm going to go do a shoot interview here, and why don't you take a listen to it and tell me what you think?" And it was always great. I just like his excitement for it would make me happy for him.
And like quite a few times when he knew it was somebody that I was interested in, he would text me the link to
Yeah.
make sure that I watched it, you know. And here's one for you, Mom.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be on this channel if it wasn't for their channel, and I wouldn't be interviewing people if I didn't think that like I could do justice to talking to people. So much so that, you know, I had Mike Allred on, and I sent the interview to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, you gotta watch this Mike Allred interview. First of all, he's a really good looking guy. Plus, you know, he talks about all the music and movies that you would, you know, my mom always took interest in my extracurricular things. I was going to mention it before, like I used to drag her around Long Island to comic stores. Like, oh, can we go here? Can we go here? And then we'd go to a store and they tell us like, go to another to try this store and stuff like that. So it's, you know, I'm thankful that, you know, you raising Ed that way. I can identify with that because I had a mom that, you know, would just appease me. Like, you know, I wasn't doing anything stupid. I was just reading comics and collecting Star Wars toys.
Right.
Like,
My mom, not because she's just sitting right here. My mom was so freaking cool growing up. Like, we'd have to fight her to get off the TV so we could play video games.
She was playing the video games first.
She was hogging up the TV time. My mom's probably the only person that I can say beat Rampage for NES. Played it for 5 days straight. Hey, don't touch it. You can't turn the game off.
Oh man, that's so good because you couldn't save Nintendo games. It's like that thing would heat up and you're like, either the house is gonna burn down or I'm gonna beat this game.
We put the fan by it, like the oscillating fan to like cool it down. Yeah,
it was great when I was in kindergarten. You guys would be at school and I'd be like, finally I can play.
Oh, that's really funny
because I was not allowed to watch.
Did you guys always get gifted comics for the holidays and for birthdays? Was it like, was he like you know, the drug dealer with comics, like always pushing comics on you?
Anytime something new would come out, like we would probably be the first to hold it.
Yeah, whenever the box got delivered to the house, he would give me a copy, and then he'd give copies to his siblings and stuff. And yeah. Like the most memorable Christmas, I think, has to be the throwback Christmas year.
He went crazy and did like a nostalgia theme for everybody,
and
he gave us like gifts from things from like our childhood.
I got a Pee Wee Herman doll, the one that you pull the
talking.
Yeah, and then I got a My Buddy doll.
I love those.
Mm-hmm.
He went on eBay and found the old Minnie Mouse bed sheets that I had. He said he couldn't find the comforter, but like
I
at
still
that
have
time,
the comforter.
You do? No, because at that time I had just 2 boys, and I was like, I'll never have another baby. But now I have a daughter, so I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna let her use this.
Well, no,
So
I had the blanket, not the comforter.
Well, I still want it.
Yeah,
But he got me the Minnie Mouse sheets, and
I got the SpongeBob Atari.
That's a
SpongeBob, and you play with his neck.
the plug and play. and
That came out so wrong.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It's okay to post that. That's fine.
And then
It's funny.
he got his dad a Lifesaver address book because my father-in-law had one.
Oh my
So
God.
he wanted
he would always give us lifesavers. So
he wanted his dad to have that, and then he got him a handheld poker game that he had that was on the fritz, so he got the new version of
let me
it.
tell you, we all were something.
And then
Yeah.
and then I had a set of 12-ounce Ziggy drinking cups,
Mm-hmm.
glasses, and another set of Garfield McDonald mugs.
I remember those with the little cartoons, and they were
And
big.
over the years, they all got broke.
That was my cup
Right.
for
And-
years.
and
for the
he-
Batman one.
And he got me a set of 4 of the Ziggies and 4 of the Garfield.
And he also got he got my daughter for, it was more or less for me, but like there was a series of Walt Disney books in like the 90s, and he got a set and gifted them to my daughter. There's a set of them
I
here
was
at his
just about to
house
say
too.
there's a huge stack of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
They're a weird similarity. I bought my mom one of those Garfield mugs like a couple years ago. I was at a flea market when I was visiting my parents in Florida, and we used to have those growing up. And I was like, and she loved Garfield. Like that was her favorite comic strip. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the time that we all grew up in. It's, those things are similar.
Yeah, it was just such a unique gift.
It was super cool that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Very
could see
thoughtful.
that he put a lot of thought into making everybody happy.
I wanted to ask, like, I know he traveled a lot, but Japan was the, like his home away from home over the last, 5 or 6 years. What, can you just talk about like how, like he talked about it publicly a lot, but I'm sure he was excited to share it with y'all, how much fun he was having out there. Anything about that to speak on?
His first trip that he was going on, he asked my husband to go with him. He was like, dude, I'll pay for you. Just gotta pay for yourself while you're over there. And my husband's like, please, please, please. And I said, as long as we don't have a baby yet, you can go. And don't you know, that was the year we had a baby. So we're hoping to go. And he still went, and he just raved about it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
Yeah.
couldn't say enough good things about Japan.
Yeah, he was begging me to go
Yeah.
because, again, like Japan's on my bucket list of places to go.
Right.
And, I unfortunately have a 9-to-5 job that I can't just take off for a month to go.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
but he definitely made it a point while he was at Ribera Steakhouse, which is a very famous wrestling spot in Japan. And he blew up my phone that day, taking pictures and sending them to me. And I'm just like, oh, you're such an asshole. But that was on my list. Like I was trying to figure out a way to go with him on a Japan excursion at some point. And I still am planning on going to Japan in
Yeah, there eventually.
in due time.
Yeah. His enthusiasm for Japan, as well as Sean, who he introduced me, he introduced the world to Sean, Japan Book Hunter, and I had him on my channel. Like, if you had asked me 2 years ago, oh, do you want to go to Japan? I'd say no. I'm planning on going in November. Like, that's, like, now that I have this friendship with Sean and I know a lot of what I want. Yeah. I'm hoping to meet him either there, or he's originally from Washington, so his parents still live out here. So hopefully I'll meet him at some point. But yeah, the enthusiasm was infectious. I mean, pretty much the thing I think that we all connect with, whether obviously you're related to him, you grew up with him, and outside of that, friendships and people that know him peripherally, his enthusiasm for whatever it was he was enthused about is absolutely infectious.
It is. And he brought so many people together through the Japan trips.
Oh,
That
gosh,
the people that didn't know each other before that are like best friends now,
It's like a big family now.
And they're adopting us as their family as well.
It's so
So.
wild.
Shout out K-Fam.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, Scheme and Danny and Sean and Aki and Danica, like all these people that I've now gotten to know a little bit, all because of their Japan trip. And I mean, I think that's the, you guys, there's a legacy, and we've been talking about it now for a couple months. Like this is the beginning of what the legacy looks like. Is me having you guys on my channel. Like this is we're trying to spread some of this legacy around and the positivity. But this is what it looks like, and I just hope that this is just the beginning of what becomes a long-lasting legacy of people talking about Ed and getting back to the con, the Edie Con. Anything else that we can, as a community do to help grow this?
Let's just get the word out there. Let's
Keep sharing.
keep sharing the event information. I want a huge turnout. Obviously, we want people to come and meet everybody and walk away with some cool stuff. But I just want to get the power of positivity out there. This is very important to us to keep spreading the positivity that my brother created with his work, with just his YouTube show. There's too much negative in the world. Let's just be kinder. Let's help each other. Let's support each other, and let's just make this like a big event every year, bigger and bigger every year. That's our goal.
That's very obtainable, and obtainable goal to have is just increasing it. And I'm excited to hang out with y'all. Have some dinner, maybe some Red Robin.
Or maybe. Who knows?
I am employed there. So.
Yeah.
I
I've been to Pittsburgh since I think around 2018 or 2019 was the last time I was there. So it'd be nice to be there. But yeah. So for everybody watching, you could follow the Ed Piskor Legacy page, the Kayfabe Sunday page, which is run by Brian Moss and friends. The Edie Con, all of the information is going to be in the description down below. It'll link to Instagram, Facebook, all the things. If for some reason you're not subscribed to Cartoonist Kayfabe, come on, we got about 5,500 to go to hit 100K, which was Eddie's. That was his goal, And anything anybody else wants to chime in before we close off the stream?
We're just excited to have everybody on board and supporting us and sponsoring us. And we're doing this like out of our pockets too. So it's like we're doing our best to bring this community together, and we're looking forward to all the cool stuff that we have planned. There's T-shirts that we're going to have some special releases that haven't seen the light of day yet, so I'm kind of excited to share those the day of. So that's a little hint that there's going to be some cool merch. So yeah, just hoping we have a nice turnout. People can come check it out.
All right. Well,
people's taken.
Yep, we're packed, we're booked up. So that's
awesome. Well, I'm looking forward.
What'd you say?
It's a time for prepping.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. August 24th in West Mifflin,
Yep.
Pennsylvania, outside of Pittsburgh. And you can contact the Ed Piskor Legacy page or the Facebook page if you have any questions or want to be a sponsor. Or you can hit me up and I will 100% connect everybody. Before we get out of here, why don't you guys give us the marching orders?
Go ahead, Mom.
All right, here's your marching orders. Make more comics, read more comics, be kind.
Oh yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching. You could find the links for the Edie Con down below, the Ed Piskor Legacy page. We'd love to see you there on August 24th. I'll be hosting a Q&A during the con. It's going to be a great time supporting some indie creators and local vendors, and just a way to celebrate Ed's legacy with the love of comics. If you are watching this for the first time on my channel, please hit the subscribe button, slam that like button, and also throw a comment down below. I have a podcast called Direct Edition Podcast. This interview is also going to be on there if you'd like to listen to it audio as well. And I thank you for watching. Read more comics, make more comics. Ed Piskor forever. See y'all soon.